Just figured I'd share a couple of things about my self-bow adventures. I started beginning of December. This is March 26th today. I'm retired, so I have some time to myself, and I went through a lot of wood, a lot of different problems I've had along the way. And the most important thing is when you buy a piece of wood, when you buy a stave, an Osage stave from somebody, you have to make sure that you're buying one that's aged. And as far as moisture content, I have a moisture meter I bought, and there's a difference between moisture and the process, the chemical reaction that the wood itself, the wood fibers go through as they dry. Now, if you can, you got to look at, if you're buying from somebody that isn't, it's better to buy from someone who actually makes longbows, if that's possible, or is an experienced bowyer and he does this on the side, he sells staves. Because, if you go look, you could find staves all over and you don't know what you're getting. So me being naive and new to it, I had a few staves that were green, and it's not like the actual color green. You buy an Osage stave and I'm trying to tiller it, or try to follow, even after I take the bark off, and I'm trying to get that single growth ring. And I noticed that the wood fibers catch and tear and peel up instead of scraping and curling. And that's a sign that the wood's green, not aged properly. And I went through that with a couple of staves. And when I talk to these people, I tell them I want a stave that I could build a bow with right away. So you have to ask these questions. How long has it been? Recently, I bought a couple of staves from a guy. He was a nice enough guy. He said that they were aged for a year. The shadow's always going to be in. He said they were aged for a year. And yes, they possibly were aged for a year. These big, giant staves I got cost $70 shipping each, $75 each for the staves. And it's like you really don't know what you're getting until you take the bark and the sapwood off. So after I took the bark and sapwood off, I noticed all the knots. Sometimes you look on the side of the logs of the stave, right? You look at the side, and if you see anything that goes along with a big up and down grain, try not to buy it. Try to avoid it. You're going to have twists, and you're going to have knots. There's always knots and twists, and what you have to do is if you're lucky enough to get an aged stave and you get down to that single growth ring, when you lay out your bow, you have to lay it so there's enough material around the knots, like flows around the knots. Sometimes you may have to make the limb wider or whatever to accommodate that so it don't pop up. So, but anyway, the last 3 big staves that I got, I started making a bow with. This was a giant stave, and because of all the severe knots that were in it, I wound up with like a 61-inch bow. And it was twisted. You could see, look, you could see this hump here. You see the hump, it goes up. That's that weird grain I'm talking about. And I have to incorporate that. And there's a knot here. I don't know if you can see the knot here in the back. You have to incorporate these knots, if there's a big knot in it, in the handle. Try to incorporate the big knot in the handle and lay out the limbs. So this way it's structurally sound and it won't break. So I did the best I could. And I noticed while I'm trying to follow a single growth ring, and I'm using a cabinet scraper around the knot, and you've got to be gentle and work around, I noticed the grains catching and peeling up a piece of fiber. And that's no good. And that's another sign that the wood is green. And I've had that problem with all of these staves. So what I did was I sanded them down, and you could back them. The rawhide backing is kind of like bulletproof. You know, I have a couple of bows that I backed, and they shoot great, and there's no problem. But I really wanted to, and I still haven't got it except for my hunting bow. I have one hunting bow that's pure Osage, and it's beautiful, and I hunt with it. No backing on it, because I was able to follow that growth ring, and no damage along the way. It was aged properly, and I was able to get a pure Osage bow, and it's a thing of beauty. But these staves here, like I said, I spent $70 each one for shipping for these giant staves, and they were knotty, they were green, and I got to tell you honestly, I talked to the guy that I bought them from. He is a nice guy. He's a nice guy, and honestly, he said they were aged for a year, and I believe him. They were aged for a year. But I also told him that I wanted wood that I could readily make into a bow. Okay. So after I got these and I talked to him, I says, you know, I got a friend making a longbow, and for the first time, and he worked hard. He took it down the growth ring. There's so many knots in this thing. There's so many knots all over it that I'm afraid that when we tiller it and we start shaping and flexing the limbs, I'm afraid it's going to crack. So I called, I talked to this guy, you know, messaged him and told him how disappointed I was. And he told me he was going to send another stave. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with, look at how weird this, look at how this is, right? I used the draw knife to follow the grain of the wood. And this is how the log was, look, right? I followed it. It's crazy, right? You know, somebody else would look at that log and say, you know, this is firewood. And it may be firewood. But what I'm going to attempt to do later today is I have the back set jig that I made that I copied off of Clay Hayes, and I drilled a bunch of holes in it, you know, so we could clamp it all the way down. And I'm going to steam half. I'm going to steam half at a time. You know, it sits on it like this, and I'm going to steam this half and get this clamped down the best I can. See if I can shape it. Okay. The other thing I learned about steaming and heat, two things. One, I heard that if the wood's green and you steam it, okay, it takes moisture out. The other thing is if you have a log, a stave that's been aged and dry for years, you know, a couple of years, that steaming can put moisture in. So what you do is after you steam these things, you let them sit and check the moisture content. You let them sit for at least a few days, if not a week. Okay, let them sit and let everything equalize. Let all the moisture content and everything adjust to the room and adjust to the whole bow. That's what I've heard. So that's what I do. So, because of all the pin knots in this, like I said, this one, right, and the grain ripping up, and the same with this one. These are the two big problems that I had. I sanded them, you know, I sanded them down, and I'm going to rawhide back them. And the rawhide's good because you put down the glue and you have the rawhide soaking for about an hour. It's pliable, and when you lay it down, it'll take the shape of all these inconsistencies, okay? And you can wrap it with different things to make sure that it's a good bond on the wood, okay? I actually had one that was nice and straight that I just laid it on like you would lay a backing on, like a snake backing for, you know, and I let it dry just like that without being wrapped, and it was fine. But when you have all these depressions and twists, I'm going to wrap it up. I have some ace bandages that I'm going to wrap it up with. Okay. So really that's it. You know, you'll find also, I found also that my friend lent me a 100-year-old draw knife. And I bought others. I spent $50 on this one, $50 on that one. And for the life of me, I don't understand it, but you know, I sharpen them all, and that 100-year-old draw knife just feels so much better. It just takes nice curls, it shaves, it just feels good in the hand. You know, I guess that's, you know, everybody has their favorite tools, and you'll find out that with the draw knives, you know, you get one that just feels right, all right? So I was lucky on eBay. I actually found I found one, the same one, except it's a 10-inch instead of his is a little 8-inch. And I was so happy to get it. And believe it or not, that one feels good in the hand too and all. So make sure you're getting a good stave that's aged before you start. Otherwise, it's trouble. It's trouble, but I never give up. I always in life, I say, if you're going to go down, you go down swinging. So as you can see, most people would have looked at that log and said, oh, knots and twists and up and down, and gave up. Well, we're going to see. After I steam it, we may have a longbow. Got to see. All right, and that'll be continued. But I just want to touch on those few points. Moisture content in the wood doesn't equal aging. Okay, you could have the fibers that are in the green wood are kind of soft and pliable. All right, and they could have a low moisture content. It don't mean it's aged. They're still soft and pliable. All right, so make sure that when you start out, to avoid problems, you don't have any crazy dips in the grain, no big knots in the side of the boat, in the side of the stave that you clearly see. You're going to have knots and all this stuff in this wood. That's Osage. But don't buy one with any big giant, you know, dips in the grain, big knots all over. Try to get something halfway decent, all right? And like I said, you got to work around whatever you get. There's no perfect stave, you know, that I found yet. All right, so just wanted to share that. Really important. First step, know what you're getting. Get a good aged stave. All right, I'm going to show you me steaming this in a little while. Okay, just want to show you what it looks like on that back set jig before I start steaming. Right? Pretty crazy, right? And we'll see what happens, but that is some wild twist. Okay, so when I steam these, I put them in a pot like this, and I have foil wrapped around. So the steam from the pot, which is about this high, will also go up and go around the handle area. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that around the handle area I have like a good seal. And then we put this end in, and this just covers the pot. Here's the ring where the pot would be, okay? So, let's see, we're ready. It's starting to get hot. I see some bubbles. Okay, let's see. I'll show you quick here. Okay, I'm going to set the timer for 35 minutes. okay? And the steam should be going up. It'll cover the handle area, okay? And hopefully this will work. Okay. Starting to boil, steam will go up, heat the handle area. This is all wrapped up nice. It's like a stovepipe. And then we're going to bend to one side, and then we're going to flip it around and do the other side. Hopefully we don't hear a pop. Okay. Here we go, it's still hot, we're still tightening them down. Okay, we're gonna have to re-steam this again one more time. We're gonna have to re-steam this one more time to get the end down. All right, but we're gonna let it cool and see what happens. After we steam something, sometimes it springs back a little bit. So it'll have to be done again. I got the pot on cooking again. And we're going to just steam this again because I want to get this by the handle correct. I gotta admit, that was some big bend, right? Some incredible bend that we took out of this, right? Let's see what we got here. We got a little spring back with that. Okay, let's look at everything, fibers and all. Okay, no cracks, no nothing. It looks pretty good. Okay. Okay, we're starting to work on that little bit of back set. You know, needs a little more work. I don't know what I'm going to do. This was really an incredible bend, you know, to take care of. We're going to still try and get this straightened, but not now. This is next. See how good it looks. Gotta do the other side, I'm sure, one more time. this right here. Right here in this bend. So this here is going to have to be heat treated, I think. We're going to have to work on heat treating this here. Well, the bend did get better a little bit. It did get a little better. I got to steam this side. I got to steam this side because this end was up a little bit. So I just got to steam this side a little more. Okay, let's see. Let's see how it looks. I'll steam this side and I'll be able to work on this one more time because we're going to steam this and clamp it down. Okay, let's see how it works out. Okay, I gave it a little heat treatment too with the heat gun. You know, about 5-10 minutes on each limb. See what happens, trying to get it to stay where it is. Well, look at that. Not bad at all. Okay, look. Right? I think we're good. I think I'm good. That's good enough for me. Look at that, huh? Pretty good. All right, now I got to clean up the mess. All right. Next few days, we'll see. We're going to let them sit for a few days, and then maybe we'll do a little backing on them and tillering. Okay, the limbs are aligned and rawhide back tonight on the recurve. And the longbow, we put up the string, and that longbow looks really good. The limbs look good. So, rawhide back in that next. The longbow is prepped and ready for rawhide backing. I went down 4.5 inches from the knot groove, and that's where I'm going to start it for a little less mass on the end of the limbs. And when I'm done and it dries and it's all trimmed and all, and I tiller it, I'm going to put fake snake skin backing on it, synthetic snake skin backing. So how I prep this is basically I just took a 36 grit sanding disc, really scuffed it up good. Okay. And wiped it, make sure it was clean. And I have rawhide soaking now. It's just about ready. I'm going to wring it out, dry it out, and I'm going to coat the back of the bow and the rawhide strips with Type Bond 3. Okay, got the Type Bond, and what I'm going to do is I shook it up good. I'm going to pour it on the back of the bow here. Now the wood might be a little dry and thirsty, so I'm going to massage it in this glue. And it's going to drink some of it up. I'm going to add more as I go. Then once I get this on here, I'm going to wring out the rawhide, stretch it, recoat some of this here as necessary as I go along. Okay, I'm going to trim this a little narrower. Just start it with this here. Okay, I'm going to trim it a little narrower. I'm going to lay it on like snakeskin. Okay, put a little more on this, keep it moist. Make sure it gets in there. Okay. Very important, I want to make sure that that dry wood drinks up every bit of the glue, seals it. I want no spots without glue. Okay. Now I got the rawhide back in. One side's usually thicker than the other. They're both pretty much the same on this one here. Let me see. Maybe this is the thicker side. Okay. Rub it on good. Want to make sure it's coated well. What I'm going to do here, quick, is just run along the side here and make sure that there's any glue overflowing off the side here and clean it up a little bit. It's going to be a lot more when I squeegee it down. Okay, now we got this thick side. I'm going to put it on the lower part of the handle. It's going to be overlapping. Okay. Okay, let me start it up here. Start it up on the top. Put a little more glue. Looks like it drank up just a little bit of glue there. Want to make sure we get it coated really good. Okay. Clean my hands up best I can. Okay. Okay, I got a little squeegee here. A little squeegee here. I'm gonna run the squeegee down. Okay, then peel this up where I'm gonna overlap it. Gonna make sure that it's, I use my hand now just to make sure that it's laying. I kind of curve my hand a little, make sure it's laying all where it's supposed to be. Okay, gonna get the other one, dry it up good, and I'm gonna repeat it on the same side. I'm gonna trim it and lay it down. Okay, I have this coated, recoated this here. We're going to overlap this. This is coated too. The rawhide's coated with the Type R3. Got a little overlap going on here. see it, but I stretched this a little bit. The one piece was really tough, didn't want to stretch, but that's okay. This one stretched a little bit. Okay. I'm going to run the squeegee down just to make sure. Okay, it's all done. Just cleaning it up a little, make sure I got a paper towel here. I'm just rubbing it on it nice, up towards it. Gonna hit the side a little bit. I mean, all this can be scraped off later. Just trying to avoid some heavy glue spots. That's it, all done. Okay, don't look too bad. What I'm gonna do now is I use this tape, this painter's tape, for like a guide, 4.5 inches down. Taking that off. Take it off here. And that's it, we're good. All done. Gonna let it sit for a few days. Yep, it's gonna sit for a couple of days. Make sure it's totally dry, then I'm gonna trim it. Okay, between last night and this morning, I rawhide back the recurve and the longbow, and that should keep them, hopefully, from breaking with all the crazy knots and twists in these things. And enough for me to tiller them. And once I get them done tillering them, the longbow's gonna, I'm really not crazy about the snakeskin, but this is artificial snakeskin. We're gonna put snakeskin backing on the longbow. And to give you an idea what it looks like, it'll look like this. That's what the snakeskin will look like, okay? So, gotta let this dry like 2-3 days, maybe longer, just to make sure it's really cured. And then use a razor, and I trim the edges with a razor. Trim the edges with a razor, and then sand them nice and round until... Okay, this is that crazy twisted longbow. Let's see what we can get out of this. We're going to try and get like a 40-pound, 45-pound bow out of this. That's about 40 pounds at 12 inches. So hopefully we can get a... work it a little bit more. £40 at 12 inches. Take a little bit of weight off, and then we're going to tighten up the string, see if we can get a... Okay, we've got a shorter string on this. We've got a shorter string on this here. Let's see what we got. See how it's bending. 13 inches. This one's bending a little bit. This one's really stiff. So we have to take some weight off. Take some weight off this limb. Okay, we got the shorter string on the longbow. I took some weight off. I think the upper limb wasn't bending as much. Got some nice movement in the bottom limb. Movement isn't bad in the top limb, maybe on the outer edge a little bit here more. A little bit on the outer edge here. Got to take off some on the outer edge here. From here down. Okay, I took some off the ends. See if we can get it to flex a little better here. Once we get it down to like a 20 inch, which is 18, we probably could put a string on it. So it looks like I'm going to be able to put a string on this, and then we'll tiller it some more. I don't know how much weight it is. We'll have to see See if I get a string to fit. Okay, I tilled it the best I could. I got a 35-pound longbow. Okay, it's rawhide backed, sanded. It's cut a hair past center maybe. All right. Gonna have to do a little shooting with it in a little while. But the tiller's not perfect. But there was knots here and knots here. Okay, because of these 1, 2, 3 knots on this top limb. Okay, I didn't want to take it down anymore and have a chance of the knot coming loose or anything. So the bottom has a little bigger than the top, you know. Okay, just a little bit. The bottom is just a little bit bigger brace height than the top limb. But other than that, okay, it's pretty good. Let's see what we got again. I think it's 35 pounds. 34, 35 pounds at my draw load. $34.25 pounds, okay? So that's a nice 3D bow. So I'm gonna go take this in the backyard and fling a couple arrows with it. Okay, you saw that log, that crazy log, right? That went like this, and then you saw when I took this longbow and I carved it with the log, it was like crooked. It was crazy, it's like firewood, right? I steamed it, I got it straight, and today I tilled it the best I could. And look, it's really not that bad being tilled, right? The top limb has 1, 2, 3, 4 knots that I had to be really careful with. So it's tilled the best I can from a crooked log, you know, and straightening it out and getting it tilled and a string on it. I sanded it, I rounded all the edges, front and back. Okay, I got rawhide back. I was gonna put snakeskin on, but I think I'm gonna leave it the way it is. I don't like that fake snakeskin really. So this is about 34 pounds at my draw length. I have these, I believe they're 30-35 Port Oxford cedar arrows with 125 grain screw-in tip on there, and I think those inserts are like 45 grains, okay? So I'm just gonna stop this, position the camera, and you're gonna watch me doing some shooting. Okay, from where I'm set up here, that bear is 10. The bag deer is 15, and the deer with the antlers is 25. Okay, see how these fly. The same thing as a regular bow, elbow all the way back, touch your anchor, try to be a shooting machine. Look at that, bear's at 10. Well, 10's close. Let's see how I do at 20. I think I'm going to try putting the point on top of the 10 ring, because these arrows are pretty heavy. Wow. I touched the dot on top of the 10 ring. Isn't that crazy? All right, well, if that's the top of the 10 ring, then 25's got to be the top of the back. So let's try 25 top of the back. Oh, a little low. All right, we got to go a little higher for that. Definitely got to find lighter arrows for this, but come on, this thing, this crooked bow, shooting arrows out of a crooked log. I thought it was going to break a million times. Even tillering it, I was waiting for it to break, but look, I got a nice longbow. Here we go. Wow, right under it, man, right under it. I'm going to do a soda can, an imaginary soda can on top of its back. Look at that, right there, the imaginary soda can right on top of his back. Isn't that crazy? All right, I got one arrow left. I really don't expect to hit, but let's go over here. That mountain lion in the back, that's 25 yards. So if I had to shoot a soda can above the deer for 20, I got to shoot like a 2-liter bottle, a cap off a 2-liter bottle on top of that thing's back. Let's give it a shot. One arrow, hit or miss, and that'll be the end of this little video here. Here we go. Oh, didn't make it, ran out of gas, but okay. So anyway, that was it. I got my bow out of a twisted log, okay, out of a hunk of firewood. You gotta admit, pretty impressive. I'm impressed at myself that from a twisted hunk of log. Look at this here. See the deer? And back here was a soda can higher. Okay, the soda can higher than the deer. Okay, soda can higher, and I got it. Okay, it's so bright. I hope I got this. And the mountain lion, well, the mountain lion fell short because of just didn't have enough gas. But once again, I'm pretty happy, right? Out of a junk hunk of wood. All right. Granted, I had to make it bulletproof. I had a rawhide back it. And again, thanks Clay Hayes for supplying these rawhide backing that I could buy. Okay. Look. All right. I got a nice little 34-pound longbow. And with the right arrows, it's going to be a lot of fun to shoot. All right. Watch my other videos on Bare Bow Joe. Have a good day. Every day you wake up is a good day.